Welcome back to another episode of the Missing Triggers podcast. I'm Kyle. Hey,
I'm
Sebastian.
Sebastian. Hey Kyle, what's up?
We it's been a crazy couple weeks with RTNs and stuff, and we haven't done a podcast, so we figured we update people kind of how the last couple weeks of our flesh and blood
Journey.
experience has gone and our journey. It has been a journey, and kind of just news and questions and actually something you're kind of going through. We're gonna go over and kind of, I guess. I guess kind of a big in therapy session where we're gonna talk through your issues and hopefully it helps other people out too.
Yeah,
so,
I got him,
uh,
man.
oh man, they're there. So yeah, Sebastian. It's been 2 weeks since we've done one of these, I think, and tell me how your flesh and blood has been. Be brutally honest with me.
Um, Damn. It's a hard life as a chain one trick when your one trick gets taken away from you, man.
Yeah,
It's rough out here, dude.
yeah.
My brother in Christ.
So yeah, okay. My cat is attacking me. Chill, dude. So chain chain went away, and you're. Well, we'll cover this, but you're kind of in between decks. You don't really know what's going on,
In
and
between deck and in this game, I feel like you don't have to be a specialist in a deck, but you definitely have to do well consistently. Just know the motions of the deck you're playing, and especially in this format right now, that the meta's so wide open, you might take Briar, a deck like that, and you might go, well, I've never played against Brute before, but I'm not gonna see that, and then you see it. I mean, that's just how the meta is right now.
yeah, it is. I mean, we've seen RTNs that have had I want to say like 6 different decks in the top 8. I've seen a person say they went to an RTN and played every single Swiss round was a different deck that they played against, and I think the CC meta is kind of open.
Yeah,
So
and
like you can't be surprised if you see anything, and I think that's kind of healthy.
yeah, and this is segueing into the whole first part of this pod. It's like CC Uprising. How's the format and everything? And I would say that Living Legend has done its job, but also LSS, they've done their job in finally printing a set that just doesn't have a super broken hero, right? I think that
Yeah,
the heroes, I feel like this is what Tail should have been, in a way, right? Like you put 3 heroes out there, and they have their strengths, um, and they contribute to the meta in a good way, but there's not a chain in this. There's not a Bravo star of the show. There's not a Briar. There's not just one out of these 3 heroes that's like, yeah, this deck's insane. We all have to play this.
yeah,
And then
it's
with
been neat
that,
to
with
see.
it has been, and I think with that, and also 2 best decks rotating out, I feel like both engines have done their job, and we're seeing a pretty wide open format. What do you think?
It's refreshing just to get to see new heroes and all of them seeing success in their local metas. All we saw last format, I guess, for both ProQuest was Starvo, and Prism, and then
Starvo and
Chain at the
Prism.
end, and it's nice to get to see not those heroes and kind of get to experience other matchups and get to see other how the new cards work and how they're all good. How they all serve their own purpose in the meta. Um, with these 3 new
Exactly.
heroes, like you have a tier 1 hero, a tier 1 point, and 2 tier 1.5 heroes. I'm glad to
Yep.
say we were wrong, like in that ranking video we did on the Card Guys channel, because um, it's been pretty neat to see the Uprising decks play each other and how they also match up against the older heroes. Um, I've been loving Fi personally, but we all know
Yeah.
I'm just a filthy ninja player, and here we are. So
In I would say like the design space they did with I think it's really really cool. Um, and overall, it just, like you said, feels super refreshing to go into a tournament and not feel like you're forced to play one deck. I played two different decks, not this weekend, but last weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and just got to play around a bit, and it was fun. Learned a lot, but didn't have the results we wanted.
I ended up getting top four the first one. I was very
Yeah,
surprised, but like that was neat.
with the
Um,
oh, and going into that, it's like these new heroes, and like there's just so many ways to build them right now, and I just love seeing the brews that are popping up. With the deck you brought, which was like the complete kill you on turn two, Mask
yeah,
of the Pouncing Lynx, Vestige, Stubby Hammers combo deck. You
yeah,
have Jeremy on the same weekend, one with aggro, more of a
like a slightly more
tempo,
mid-range tempo deck.
more,
Yeah,
tempo deck. And then you see like Edge of Autumn winning
yeah.
or
I
topping.
I I need to talk to that guy. That guy was
Yeah,
smoking some good stuff.
he was smoking
Goodness,
good stuff, but it worked.
it works. I want to sleeve it up and try it because it looked neat. Um,
And
so
then you see like I think it was Jordan Elsel, and he did like a mix of like a combo and a mid range
yeah,
tempo five.
yeah,
So the builds are all over the place. You have Icelander. That's like some people are playing Sigil. Some people the Sigil a permafrost build doing super defensive, leaning in on the frost hex. Some people are doing a more like mixing attacks in their build and things like that. And I think the most straightforward I've seen is the Dromai decks. I think it's pretty much everyone's agreed, like play all the best red cards
yeah.
that you have available to you. You know, just play your
Mm.
sigils. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think they actually do play sigil. I think it's sigil, sink below, fate foreseen, oasis response. Like it's
They
just
also play
every
like
single
Ravenous Rabble too because
grab.
it's still
Yep,
red.
yep,
Yeah,
just a red.
this is
Exactly.
pretty neat.
So the meta's open. No deck I think has amazing matchups across the board or at least a 50-50. I think every deck kind of has a bad matchup right now,
And I
which
think
is
that's the
interesting.
beauty of it. I think that's the
Yeah,
beauty of it. Like you kind of have to just like make the meta call. You know, like that's what it's going to come down to is either you're just the best on the specific deck or you're going to have to make a meta call at like the next big event. Like let's just for example say Pro Tour Lille. Um you're going to have draft and you're also going to have CC. But you need to figure out what the meta is going to look like or what you think people are going to want to play and then you're going to have to tech for that. And so
yeah. I
there's
de-
just so much.
and
Oof.
I definitely think there's gonna be a like last format with nationals that it was a very closed format. Nobody knew what was really going on until it happened.
Until it
Like
just
you,
the
it,
hell
in,
broke loose.
until it just happened, and the meta was changing so much that even the next day that calling in Orlando, Michael Hamilton won with Oldham to fatigue the Briars.
Yeah.
Like you have to think that's crazy that nobody in nationals had that game plan, but like one day later at the calling, it already evolved.
It
Um,
evolved so quick.
and I think it's interesting that we're gonna have a Pro Tour 2 that's very closed, and then we're gonna have a national season, which is very like this is the these are the best decks. This is the correct list for the moment. That one did well the Pro Tour.
Mm-hmm.
The draft strategies will be even better. Like people will have a better grasp of drafting and everything like that, and that's going to be very reminiscent of Vegas format last year,
Yeah,
where it's like,
it will.
this set has been out for 4 months and we know what we're doing, and I think that's interesting that we're going to have that this year.
It is neat. It is neat to say the least. So far, do we have a best deck, or do you think it's kind of just up in the air with a couple of them?
I think it's up in the air. It's it's weird. I think the Room Blades are probably the best position decks right now. Um, I think I actually think their roughest matchup is like OG Bravo, just because of the raw
Yeah, Bravo
disruption
can
they
just
can.
disrupt them. Yeah.
I mean, like Hammer for 7 dominate, and they if you're not, I've even considered maybe for this upcoming weekend, because we do have good Guardian players in our area, throwing in a couple defense reactions in my Briar list. Just doing the local meta call, just because you did lose a block with Scaletta, and I think that made that matchup a little bit worse. And plus, now you're opting for Crown of Providence instead of Skullcap. So
Mm-hmm.
essentially, you have three less blocking your equipment, which on those dominate turns with a crippling, a spinal, or a hammer for 7 with a terrace under is very important to have that extra 3 blocking your equipment.
Yeah, for sure. Um, if I had to make just an early kind of guess, I would think Briar might be the best deck.
Yeah,
Um, but I don't think that it's been fully decided just yet, right? So
I say Briar has a little bit edge on Viscerai because Briar just has a high roll in it, where if you see Channel Mount turn 1, you're just like already winning that game.
oh yeah,
Especially the fact that you can turn 2 kill with Briar. You can Channel Mount turn 1 Arsenal Force of Nature and just go insane
yeah,
on turn
you really
2
can.
and just deal and just kill your opponent. I've seen it. Um, I heard that it happened at RTM with one of our friends. He killed someone on turn 2. I couldn't believe it.
Who is this?
Alex on.
Oh, he did it. He did it dirty.
Yeah, he killed
Wow.
someone on turn 2.
How could you, Alex?
And also I think Briar blocks a little bit better and can play a better mid-range game than Viscerai.
I agree. The mid range aspect, being able to block 4 and like hit some break points and still present quite a bit of damage on like a crackback is still insane.
Yeah,
And like you're able to block and you have Toma Harvest that can just fuel your hand right back up and do the thing, right? So,
exactly.
um,
And then you got the extra Sift being a 4 block and a
that
blue
card's
and a card
crazy
just to
good.
get your engine going with the channel mounts. That
That card's
card's just
good.
insane for Briar.
I definitely agree. Um, let's switch a little bit to the
Switching out
draft
to draft.
meta.
All right.
Let's
We
talk
got
let's talk
we got
about
so
it.
much. I have so
There
much to unpack to this draft, man. I'll let you go first. 'Cause
there's
I've been on a tangent, but go
uh
ahead.
so I put it on Twitter and apparently a lot of people don't agree, but I'm not a huge fan of making a sole draft format system to see who qualifies for like a higher end tournament. Not too excited about it, especially when you're in a pod. And this has happened to my pod once, and then once to the extreme, and then another one where all of us at least had one crack bubble, but where players are not really knowledgeable of how to draft the set, and they'll pivot late pack 1 or sometimes pack 2, and it'll just screw the whole pod. And it's not a fun thing to know that when somebody pivots at the end of pack 1 or pack 2 and you're on Dromai and you need like 3 or 4 crack baubles in your deck, or you're like, okay, I'll jam another Phoenix Flame in my deck, I guess. It's just I'm not a huge fan of it. I think they should keep the drafting uh style tournaments for like the skirmish for the time being until there's more on the line with drafting. I think drafting should be more of a premier level event thing if you're gonna start qualifying for stuff like that. But
That that or something I thought about is maybe do like Swiss CC and then draft top 8,
they can also
something
do
like
that.
that. That would be interesting for sure.
Like
Um,
I definitely agree with the philosophy of what Alex said, and I think he might have heard it from other people, but um you just have to go 2-1 in your pod for like a nationals,
yeah,
but it's really hard to go like in an RTN setting when you have we have 2 drafts, you have 6 rounds, and you have somebody just start cutting to your right at the very last part when you've already committed to your pack. To your right, decide to commit to that hero instead, like just straight up pivot, it's really hard to 3-0 a pod. And in all of the RTNs we've been to, every single person who has 3-0'd a pod has top aided, right? And
Yeah.
it's really, really hard to not to have two losses, like to go 2-1, 2-1, and people cut you out of your seat for no reason. So I don't even know where I was going with that. My cat's going crazy, buddy. You gotta not. You gotta not. He's on one tonight. But you have to just
I,
win the whole. Do you get what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm
no,
saying?
no, I definitely feel what you're saying.
I
That
just I don't know how to get it into words tonight.
with I believe it was last episode or the episode before that, we shared our experiences where you had a 5-man um pod, and then that first RTM weekend, I had a 4-man Icelander pod because somebody brand new to the game drafted mid pack 2 on Icelander.
Yeah.
And it just does suck when there's a little bit more on the line. People don't know what's going on, and I think it doesn't help with this format. That's the main thing that we want to talk about. Not so much the RTN season with it, but the actual format itself. I feel like is very very. It, it's hard to navigate because as you know, as a player like me, right? I like to I like to stay open. I mean, I, I think if you're from any game, right, any card game, if you draft and you want to do well at draft, you want to stay open for the draft.
Yeah.
So, but in this format, this weekend, I went 6-0, and then in top eight, these are all people who know what they're doing. Like they're in top eight, and I'm staying open. 2 seats ahead of me to my right, our friend Justin staying open, and then 2 seats down from me, Nathan on our team staying open. And then all at the same time, we both see that it just ain't working out for us with any other deck, and we're like, okay, well, we don't see good five, we don't see good Dromai. Let's all, but Icelander's open, and then all three of us like went to Icelander, and we all got punished for it. um, and I feel like we did the right thing. We stayed open, but then the problem is we did this on like pick 5 or 6. We kind of just all unified pick 5, 6. I think Justin said he was like 7 or 8. But by the time we read the signal that we were all on Icelander, there's no going back, man.
Nah, like
By the
you're
end of pack
actually
one,
screwed if you don't just keep
you're
going.
actually screwed. And I
Yeah.
think there's a couple things that contribute to that. One being 3 cards less in a pack. I don't know why they decided to do that. I get it. They want the coal foil or the value. I think that's a great addition to this. But I feel like you could have just given up that token slot if that like if they get a cold foil, who needs a token, right? I
Yeah.
think I think there's enough tokens to go around in the world where we don't have to worry about having enough tokens. Um,
Yeah.
but I think that in this draft format, we had someone in our locals. He forced 6 drafts in a row, and he won 2 RTNs this weekend. And I'm nothing against him. He's a friend of mine, and I'm happy for him that he won. But I'm just saying, I think it's crazy that you can force something in this format and then get rewarded so well. And then I heard
It's probably a
other
little luck
people
on the
were
way too.
a little luck on the
Like,
way too.
yeah, for sure. I mean, like, that's always gonna happen when something like this, when like a draft setting happens. Is there's always gonna be bad luck and good luck that's involved, and a lot of times you have to be lucky. And
Yeah,
he was good and he was lucky. You know, you can't deny either one
exactly.
of them. So,
No, no,
um,
for sure. But I feel like, and I've heard other people having results with actually just forcing a deck, and I don't even blame them. I just feel like in this draft format, you have to send signals so early because people have to pick by pack 5. I mean, sorry, by pick 5. That it kind of sometimes I don't know. It might be correct to just be like, I see, Spellfire Cloak, pack 1, pick 1. I'm going Icelander. Blue
yeah,
taking this good blue, and then down the person to my left knows, well. can't go Icelander.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
and just send that signal early.
like there's a lot of different pack one pick ones, but obviously like if you see something like the spell cloak, um, I don't remember where I heard this from, but a lot of times if you're not really certain about what you're going, and like your picks haven't been great, just pick the best card in the pack. And sometimes, it is that equipment. And sometimes like that is what's gonna tell you like, hey, you need to go this hero,
Yeah,
Like Spellcloak being one of them. Or uh it is obviously better if you hit like a Sash to Sandakai. So now you're still open to two different heroes. But
exactly.
you're playing one of those two heroes at that point. So
And it's interesting because I've heard some people were like hard avoid Icelander and it's paid off for them. They're like, I'll draft my seat for Fire Dromai, but I'm not going to draft it for Icelander.
yeah.
And then I've heard some people are like, I'm hard committing to Icelander pack one if it's there. If I get something like a big hit like that, like a red Aether Ice Vein or a Spellfire Cloak or something like that, if I see that, I'm taking it and I'm sending those signals from the start, drafting all the good blues. I'm going Icelander, and it's worked for multiple different people. It's just,
I don't know how they're
it
doing
just
it.
I don't know how they're doing it, and this format just doesn't feel the same, man. And
It doesn't.
it could just be that there's no archetypes in this format. Um, on the Attack for 20 podcast, Michael Fang he made a very good um comparison. It was like tribes and magic. I'm not really much of a magic player. Kyle, it's not really much, but to explain, he was like there was one set that came out and there in the set that there was a vampire tribe, a dinosaur tribe, um, something two other tribes like that. So four tribes, and basically, if you were drafting, you draft vampires, then you can't draft dinosaur cards. Kind of, it feels so much like that, and I think that was a great comparison. That there's not too much mix in between here, so there's no staying open. There's no there. I mean, in WTR, you could literally build Slogism deck.
You really could.
You really could and play
I
Bravo or Reinar.
I played Slogism Dory at one point.
Exactly.
I won one of the farewell drafts because of that. So like I mean it was very possible, and like there's just so it's such a thin margin with
Such a
with,
thin
with this, just because of the few extra cards that are not included as they were in other sets. So much less room for error, and you know
and
one wrong pick could fuck you.
what? Yeah, one wrong read can mess you up, and then the fact that there is only three heroes, it is so hard to read the pack sometimes.
It
Sometimes
is.
like sometimes you should have picked Dromai, but there's like one Dromai down the river, like 4 seats away. But you don't know that because they picked the one red Dromai card out of that pack, and you're like, man, there's no dragons, there's no red Dromai cards here. But those packs just didn't have a lot of good Dromai in them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
You
but
were not wrong.
but
Look,
getting out of, or do you have any final thoughts on drafting an Uprising?
nah, just force fire and you'll be fine.
Force Fi. Um. Oh, I'll say it. I much rather be the Force Fi player than the second Dromai or the third Icelander. I've accepted that
Wholeheartedly. Just win the die roll. You're
wholeheartedly.
fine.
Just win the die roll.
Yep. Just win the fucking die roll. Shout out to 60% yellow decks winning RTNs. I love it. but but yeah.
Hey,
With that, we only have one more week. We have a CC RTN coming up this week at Level Up. Some of us are queued already. I actually queued. And I'm really
yay!
excited that the night I queued, we found out where Nationals and Worlds are.
Yes, we did.
I'm so hype. Granted, it's not Atlanta, but
It's not
still,
Atlanta.
it's like a 3 hour drive from us, and it's not awful at all. So, for our Nationals, it's in Charlotte, North Carolina, We were there for a ProQuest for ProQuest Season 2, actually, were we not? Yeah, we
Yes, we
did
were.
go. So um, looking forward to going back and getting to play some more Flesh and Blood, not having to fly too friggin' far. Um,
And
and
then we
then
got World.
where's Worlds?
It's in San Jose, right? California.
Really? I guess
Gonna
Worlds makes sense in California, so like they don't have to like for everyone in New Zealand, they don't have to fly
Yeah, for all the people
so
on
much
the
farther.
yeah, for the Pacific people, it's easier for them in Australia, New Zealand, Asia to just take one trip instead of having to get to America than taking another flight. Which we know that flights are outrageous. Even
Yeah. Yeah.
in from LA to Atlanta, I'm sure that if you get the wrong weekend, run you about $500 to $700. It's crazy.
It's crazy out here in these streets for sure. I don't even want to think about plane tickets. I'm so happy we don't have to have a buy plane tickets for nationals. God, this is gonna be great.
It's gonna be so great,
For sure.
really. And in San Jose, yes, it is.
San Jose. Okay. Cool. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with San Jose. Never been, so check that off the bucket list. Um,
Exactly.
I've been to so many other places in California. Never been to San Jose. So
I didn't realize how big California was until I looked it up because I'm like, San
my
Jose, that's in
brother in
California.
Christ, open your
Dude,
eyes. The
I
place is
dude,
huge.
I know, but I was like, San Jose, man, I'm gonna go to Disneyland. Looked it up. It's like 3.5 hours from fr- from the LA Disney. I'm like, damn, I
Yeah,
want to go to Disney.
it's actually kind of nuts. I'm actually Google Mapsing right now. Let's see. We got San Diego, and then oh shit. So San Jose is actually in NorCal. Wow, I didn't know that. So just to kind of give you like a little mileage, for example, of how far away or how long California is, it'll take you 12 to 12 and a half hours, probably a little longer, to cross to go all the way from top to bottom
Yeah,
or bottom to top. That's how big that fucking state
yeah,
is.
it's crazy. Or my girlfriend Becca, she's a crazy Disney fanatic, and she planned a whole Disney trip for us that never gonna happen.
It's never gonna
But
happen now, huh?
that
Shoot.
age,
Not like this.
not
Yeah, I did
like
not
this,
realize San Jose was
that far
probably
away.
about an hour from San Francisco. That's kind of neat. I'll take
That
that.
is neat.
That's cool. That's cool. Shout outs to LSS for getting a decent location. Other than
I will say
Nationals
that.
being in Atlanta, we'll digress and we'll take Charlotte.
We'll take that. We're going, but now we need to have that Atlanta battle hardened
Yeah.
because
Where's that at?
as
Where's
everyone
that
else
at?
got one, why doesn't Atlanta get a battle hardened? Come
Need a
on,
battle harden. Come on, James White. I know you hear
come
me
on,
right now.
you hear us.
Chris Bewley, I know you hear me right now. I know you want to give us a battle harden. Fuck. Honestly, I'll help run that shit. Let me know. Let me know, Chris. That's how much I want in the Atlanta area. We'll put on a decent stream. We'll have a great turnout, great tournament. We'll do a lot of promotion. We'll do a lot of media. And it'll be a fucking fantastic time. But you have my email, hit my line, and we'll get that started. Sebastian,
Yes.
I need to talk to you about something.
What do you need to talk to me about?
My brother, let me take a sip before I go in on you real quick. Yeah, that's some good shit. Good H2O. I need you to pick a deck. You've been struggling a little
I
bit to
have been,
figure out
man.
your deck.
Dude, it is a struggle out here.
What do you think it is? Do you think you were just so used to Chain's game plan that like it's just not the same for you? Like what's going on? Because I know you've been trying different decks and everything, and we're gonna try to get down to the root of this. We're gonna try to see if we can help you out and also help other people, going through the same thing. Like I said in a previous podcast, a lot of these fucking Starvo players about to get exposed because they ain't got
Yeah,
Starvo in their hands. And so unfortunately right now you got chain in your hands, okay? We got to
I
make
know.
sure like right now it's a really good time for a Rune Blade. It's still which is crazy to think about Viscerai being back. You know, let's talk about your journey after your chain rotated, and then let's try to pinpoint ways that we can help others pinpoint what hero to look at next or what type of deck they would want to go to next. Creating more of a versatile player where they can pick something up and be able to do well with it. So let us know about your journey first. Like what happened
Well,
from
starting off,
then to now.
I just want to say that part of the journey is I think it is very important. Shout yeah, going out to all the Prism players out there. Go ahead in this format. Don't wait till your deck rotates out. Just get a couple. Start running games on something else. Stay versatile as a player. It's great to be a specialist in a class, but just make sure that you're keeping your avenues open. So when your deck does rotate out, even if it's like me with Chain, where it was like I just love the graveyard aspect, the banishing stuff, and
Yeah,
there's nothing really else in the game that does it well. I know you can play Levia, but it's just not happening, man. Like
it ain't the
I'm not
same.
going. I ain't bound by the shadow that much. All right, come on.
I ain't trying to have my elo tank.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, it's just good to stay fresh on a couple decks, basically. But start of the journey is, you know, playing ProQuest Season 2. Scooped all the finals to try to prevent it. didn't didn't help. He still got there, and here we are. It was just like you don't have a deck anymore, and then it goes to what are you gonna play? And the reason I think this is actually really good for the people playing Prism is that Flesh and Blood's unique. So I think there are exceptions to this, but some heroes just don't really like the skills you learn with Chain. A lot of those skills don't translate into another deck. If you get what I mean. Like the whole like managing blood debt, pitch stacking to see it on a certain shackle, things like that. The math you do because do I block with this my only attack action in my hand and do the risk calculation because you're on 5 shackles and you're like, well, I can block with this attack action. I'm most likely going to see an attack action because I haven't seen a lot of my blood debt attack actions this game. And all that math and everything just went out the door for me. But obviously, you can take some of those skills that you learned, put them into other decks. Like it's a Rune Blade, it did Rune Blade things, so I can take that. But Prism's the same way, I think, where it plays in such a unique way that once that hits Living Legend, it's a lot of those Prism skills are going to be hard to take into a different deck.
Sure.
Tell me if you think I'm wrong. I
Um,
think Prism's very unique in how it plays.
Prism's very unique as how it plays. It honestly depends on the player for Prism. But yeah, I kind of agree with you in that sense because you kind of know you gotta know when to hold a yellow at certain points, when you need to block out, the timing on when you need to play an aura, when to pitch your auras to attack, and then vice versa, and like the decision there's so many decision trees in a prism deck. It's like a match. It's unreal. So
Yeah.
I do think by playing prism, it does help a player go to a different deck a little bit easier than what you are accustomed to. Um, or like any chain player realistically is accustomed to. Roomba players not as much, right? Um,
Yeah.
but chain, for example, yes. Because you're micromanaging, and chain it taught you a couple of fundamentals that I think as longer the longer you play, the more they're going to refine, and like they're already, I think, tip top. Like how to micromanage, you're banished, and like your hand, and how to effectively use your resources correct to get the optimum amount of damage, or if you need to take a whole bunch of blood debt and then you know present like 15, and then the next turn take 4 blood debt and then present 20 something the next turn, you know what I mean? um
Yeah,
i
for
think i
sure.
think that fundamental for you is going to reign true going forward with more formats, and when
Yeah.
more cards get announced and everything. But right now, I think you're just in the chain. You have chain brain.
Yeah.
I think that's
And
exactly what it is chain brain. You just got to get out of chain brain. You'll be fine.
exactly. And also not having a beautiful chess piece of equipment that just slams on the table for 6 block in all the race matchups and against Guardian. It's just good in every single scenario. Not having that hurts, man. Having an aggro deck and then you're like, damn, I'm at a low life total and I just don't have a free 6 block in my equipment. This sucks.
This ain't it, Chief. That's
And
funny.
I'm just thinking, man, just imagine Chain with Crown of Providence. Would have been game changer. That
Chain
would have
with
been
Crown of
insane.
Providence might have been crazy.
Yeah. That one turn where you're about to kill him and you're like, okay, I know I pitched a blue and it's late in the shackles and you're like, I know I pitched a blue here. All right, let's block with this Crown of Providence. And just get that right off the top. Fix this whole hand. But yeah, but I think it's good to just play a couple different styles. I did Icelander. Um, I don't think the list I was on was the best list for Icelander, so I think that definitely attributed to I was like, man, not screw this deck. I think Icelander is still very good, and I'm going to continue to play test with her and everything because I think she is a very good meta call pick until I don't know if she'll be like just a tier one deck. I kind of feel like she's in the same boat as Kano, right? Where it's like
Yeah.
it is a good deck if but if people respect it and they don't respect it, it changes how good it is, things like that. I feel like it's going to be like a Metacall kind of deck that in certain tournaments, this deck's amazing, and then certain tournaments that you're just going to have bad matchups and get beat out.
Yep. I agree. It's that simple. I just agree with that entire statement.
Yeah.
Um,
But definitely just wanted to put this little bit in there. If you if your deck has rotated out or it's going to rotate out in the future, just pick up another deck, different play style, try it out, see what you like. If not, then like for example, if for some reason, just to pull any example, like Briar was to rotate out next, try a different style. But if Viscerai's there, then just play Viscerai. you know, just go to the next best thing. Sometimes you have to do that.
Sometimes you absolutely just have to do that.
I think we got some questions actually.
Yeah, I was reading those right
Maybe.
now. We got a couple of pretty decent questions that I want to go over from our Patreon Discord. We're building a pretty neat community over there. If you guys have stayed with us this long, if you wouldn't mind, clicking subscribe. It only takes just a moment. Liking the video too. We're also on
We
we're on YouTube.
appreciate it.
So subscribe on there. We're also on Spotify. So if you're
Give
in
us a listen,
YouTube,
man.
what's that?
He said, give us a listen.
Please listen. We sound cute. Um, the first question, which
Yes.
I do think you might be able to answer this pretty good, pretty well. Living Legend has two stated purposes: an emergency pressure valve and to force rotation. What do you think it does? What do you think it does well, or doesn't do well for both purposes? And do you think this game will wind up needing a traditional rotation system despite the Living Legend system? I have I have a way to slow it down, I think. Actually, I know it will slow it down, but I don't think they're going to listen to me. But, I
Go
want to
ahead.
hear, well, them having a damn season every single month. We don't have a weekend off. What do you expect people to do? What do you expect? Like what you having the second ProQuest 2 season just to get Starvo out of there? Like give us a a month off. It's even hard to like get players into the game because we don't have a weekend to dedicate to like build, learn to plays and all that stuff. But in regards to Living Legend, like there's a reason that a lot of these heroes have a lot of points is
Yeah.
because we're playing a shit ton every single weekend. Every single weekend. We don't miss a weekend.
Hey man,
Let
guess
us
what you're
miss a
gonna do
weekend.
right after Road Nationals? You're gonna go to your fucking skirmish and play for a. That's what you're about to do, man.
Like, cause what we're going from RTN to skirmish to nationals,
Uh, Pro Tour in between that. I'm
and
sure
you
they'll
have
throw
yeah, and you
Battle
have
Hardened callings. Throw that
yeah,
in there too.
yeah. So you have it's skirmish, battle hardens,
Oh yeah, skirmish.
callings, pro
It's skirmish.
tour,
Yeah, it's insane.
some crazy. It's just a lot. And then probably right after that, they're going to announce some other thing they're going to want to do. ProQuest
Oh, for
3
sure.
season, more honestly, more than likely. Um,
Yep.
so we're probably looking at that. So that's why there's so many points going around.
There is.
Like if we slowed it down, if we go, oh, well, we'll do RTN season, and then we'll do a month off. And then while all of the big tournaments are going, where a lot of your semi competitive players and your casual players are not going to be traveling all the way to the Calling Uric or Singapore or Pro Tour France or Pro Tour Lille, then you can
Yeah.
have skirmish season. That's the perfect time to do it. And we can have locals in between, you know,
Yeah.
for the weekends. Give us a break. I do think you have an opinion. I think you and I agree on this. I do think we're going to see some sort of like a ban list or some sort of rotation later on. They're gonna have to do a lot of work with it. What do you
Yeah.
think?
I. It's definitely we're definitely gonna see some kind of like longer ban list. I think it's gonna either eternal format like Yu-Gi-Oh, where you're just gonna have a crazy long ban list because you need it, man. There's already cards in this game that are looking real suspect if one card gets added to the pool, right? Like there's
Yeah.
certain cards in this game that it's like, yeah, this needs one thing to be degenerate. And Starvo was bad. I would say borderline degenerate, but I don't it wasn't truly tier 0. You cannot play anything but Starvo degenerate. Kill you on turn 2 kind of deal, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Once but once that happens to a game, that leaves a very bad taste in people's mouths. So it's interesting that they'll I hope that their testing's there to catch that ahead of time, and or if they if they are gonna let things like this, if it does slip through the cracks, then they need to make sure not to do let Living Legend take care of it, have the company take care of it. If
Nit
there's a
the shit in
broken
the bud
combo,
real quick.
exactly. I'm in the personal belief that it took them until after Indy because there was like some things going. They didn't want to change the format, but honestly, when Indy happened, I'm like, it shouldn't have even taken till Indy, man. They should have just saw Starvo and what he was doing, and knowing that he wasn't designed to do this, and their playtesting was mistaken because of cards like Plunder Run and you know Anarada Briar in the format. That Starvo now he's doing crazy things that they didn't expect him to do. They should
Mm-hmm.
just nip that straight in the butt and not let Living Legend take care of it. Um, it did anyway, and I am happy that for the Pro Tour at least they changed it. But in general, I think that Living Legend shouldn't be a way to rotate stupidly broken heroes or card combos or things like that that a hero can abuse.
Yeah.
It's
I
got it, it's got to be just the natural progression of I feel like Chain was the perfect example of a living legend, right? Man was there for a year. He won a call. He won a nationals in Hong Kong. He won a lot of RTNs. He won a lot of Pro Quest. He won a lot of stuff. Won the Pro Tour. He got out there, man. That feels like how Living Legend should work.
Yeah,
Darvo feels like the bad side of Living Legend. How this shouldn't happen again.
I agree. I agree 100% because I mean he went from it being a crazy deck to still being a good deck, but then Nationals rolling around in a deck very overshadowing that deck. Everybody counted it out, and then he was like, "Hey, motherfuckers, I exist still," you know.
Got to
And
finals.
then they got the finals. Like it, he, hey, Chain is the epitome of a living legend in this game.
Yep.
Star of the show could just eat a dick. I don't like him one bit. He's not my favorite. He's not even a legend.
He's not even never going back to Everfest.
We were never going back to Everfest. Last time I go to the carnival.
Exactly.
We got one more question before we get off for the night. Um, it's actually from Nathan. If you guys don't know Nathan Crawford, very good player in my opinion. Um, has the fundamentals down. He asked the question because this is actually his first card game. He played Yu-Gi-Oh a very, very long time ago, like casually with friends, and I think like at a store for a little while. But he asked, what characteristics and traits are the most valuable when it comes to being a great player? Do you have any that come off the top of your head where you could possibly put an answer down for this, Sebastian?
I mean, I'm gonna tell you what Sam told me when I asked him this question. Because like Nathan, I played card games before, casually. Dragon Ball Super was gonna try to go competitive into it. Went to one big event, but then COVID happened. Um, so and then obviously going into Flesh and Blood, getting more involved in card gaming all around. I hear stories in Yu-Gi-Oh from you, Kyle, about the same players doing very well often and keep on topping. I heard in Magic that there's these crazy good players like Reed Duke, LSV, who just are insane at the game, just keep on winning and winning and winning and topping. And then in Flesh and Blood, you see it like Matt Rogers, Michael Hamilton, these players, they just keep doing well. I asked Sam, I'm like, what makes how do you get that good? What makes a great this question? What makes a great player a great player? And he said that gave me an example, gave me a rundown, but he's like taking knowing the best line all the time and playing to all your outs. Now, and that's the question he gave me a very long explanation where like his friend was in a PTQ and they were all helping him out and he was like it took three of us to help him find the lines that won him the tournament because it was an online tournament and he said a pro player would just know these lines and there's always a route to victory and you just have to play to that. So that's my surface level from what I got told, but I know you can go more in depth.
I've played card games for a long time. It's really weird to think that I've been playing card games probably since you've been alive.
Yeah.
Roughly, honestly, I think I picked up Yu-Gi-Oh actually when the structure decks came out, or the starter decks came out. So, I've
Was it
been playing card
2002?
games. Yeah, I've been playing card
Yeah, it
games
was.
since I took like a couple year break, in like early high school for baseball, but, other than that, I've been playing card games ever since. You know, ever since I picked that fucking Blue Eyes White Dragon starter deck up. So it all comes down to fundamentals first and foremost. He who practices, has a better chance than a person who just has talent. Does that make sense? Like practicing makes perfect. Practice makes that's the saying, right? Which I think in card games, practice does make perfect because you're going to be very in tune with the fundamentals of the game. on like another higher level of the game. Um, and also what comes with just having the fundamentals is like a second nature to you. Um, then being able to look forward into a match and play to your out like Sam said. One thing that he did say in that conversation, because I think it was me, you, and him at that restaurant when we were talking.
It,
Correct?
it it was, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the
What makes a good player great um, is being able to play your outs 2 or 3 turns in advance. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
And I think Sam, he asked me a question, and he was like, "Every tournament, do you feel like you play perfectly?" I go, "Of course, some yes, most of them no." And he's like, "Difference between a technically great player and a regular player is they always know, even if they lose, they played perfectly."
mhm. And also, a great player also knows when they misplay how to fix it for the next go around, where they won't make that mistake
Exactly.
again. And that right there is what separates good players from great players. And I think right now with the state of Flesh and Blood, I do believe we have a list of players who are great that are just a step above the good players. And like
Yeah.
we could possibly name like 10 or 15 of them that are just gifted and just know what the fuck they're doing, you know. So that's my answer. Being able to play ahead and plan ahead and then continuously be ahead, but also, second nature fundamentals, which a lot of people still haven't perfected. I haven't perfected. Not many people have perfected. But tighten up your gameplay, figure out the fundamental side of things, and then thinking ahead will just come naturally to you. So it'll click. That's what I always tell you. Like one day it'll just click, you know. And yeah,
Gotta work towards it. Gotta work towards it.
you got to practice. That's the thing. You have to practice. Like if you if you sit there and say and calling out somebody on the team, I'm not gonna say his name, Alex. Um, when when you don't play test and you go into a tournament and claim that you got unlucky, you were very unprepared. So
Yep.
don't be that guy who is unlucky at a tournament, that
No.
self-proclaimed unlucky.
And, and I'm gonna say with my 2-3, with my 2 times 2-3, the CC weekend, I said it in the car ride. I'm like, I wasn't ready. I didn't practice enough, and this is my own fault. I feel like not a great player, but good player characteristics to have is, like you said, when you fuck up a misplay or something, you take responsibility for it and you move on, and
You learn from it.
you learn from it. And I'm telling you this, that when Nationals rolls around, I'm not going into that event unprepared or anything close to it.
We just got a few months left, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we're gonna leave off with the podcast tonight. Um,
Thank y'all for listening. If you made it this far, like,
Shit, I almost didn't make it this far. If you guys didn't know, it's a little late for us, but
it's
we
a little
decided
late, yeah.
we'd go ahead and record it. A little low energy, but also a couple of serious topics that I think needed to be addressed. So
It did.
we'll definitely have more of this. If you guys, yeah, I don't know, we have new branding. I need to say that
Oh,
we
we
finally
forgot
got our
about
new
that.
branding, but I don't know when I'm gonna have it up. I'm probably gonna have it up this episode up in a couple days and finish the branding. If not, we'll do it for the next one, just depending on scheduling and stuff. But
If you see on our Twitter, it looks amazing.
it does. It's literally
Turned out
what
perfect.
it embodies what
What you
our
envisioned, yeah.
inside joke. Yeah, and
Yeah.
also just I went to the guy and said, "This is the card. I need this fucker to look a certain way and laugh and cry." He was like, "Bet," and he went to
Bet.
town on it, and it was pretty sick. So I'm I was over the moon with how it turned out. So
So when your opponent forgets his Phoenix Flame this weekend, make sure you point
make sure you
and
point and laugh like the Joker.
and you laugh, and they go, "Damn, forgot my Phoenix Flame. You mind?" Well, buddy, I actually do.
You can be like people who I won't talk about. Ha ha ha! It's Comp Ariel. Nerf, nerf, nerf. No, and then you're gonna be like, oh shit, and then be like, oh, I get fucked, and then you're gonna be like, ah! And then that's just gonna be the end of it, you know. Any closing thoughts before I go to sleep?
No, I think we did pretty well.
I got an invite. That's what
Got your invite, man.
that's all that matters. You know, I got it. That's it.
And I gotta grind.
Yeah, you do. Roles reversed this time around, motherfuckers. But yeah, shout out to Sebastian, shout out to Car Guy, shout out our Patreon. If you know, you know. And
you know.
Briar best deck. Oh shoot, yeah, no, that's right. I would. You can tell it's like, cause I almost forgot. Before we leave, just remember to, brush your teeth, wash those pits in the mornings, and wipe your ass because you smell. I'll let you know at an event. Don't come around me smelling like sour onions. I'll fight your ass. But that's pretty much it for us. This has been Missing Triggers Podcast, episode 11. That's a fucking lie. I don't even know what episode it is, but episode insert here.
7.
And we'll see you guys at the next one.
See ya.